7,974. That's the amount of people that pass away every single day in the United States. My name is Darius.
And I'm Carmen. And unfortunately, in this video, we are only going to be able to talk to half of those families, meaning 3,978 individuals who actually have life insurance, because 50% of the United States population does not have life insurance. So we hope that we have woken you up and make you realize how important it is to ensure that your family has coverage. Now, in this video, we are going to be talking about what needs to happen in order to submit the death claim for your death benefit when you have life insurance.
Now, the very first point that I want to make is the death claim. You have to file a death claim with your state. Now, you're able to do this on your own, but I would expect that that's one of the last things that you want to do as you're going through the loss of a loved one. Now, the reason why I say it's the last thing you want to do, because for us, our daughter passed away at the hospital, and they told us that we had 48 hours for us to identify a funeral director to come identify her body and move her to their facility. Now, having to physically go about filing a death claim on her behalf on top of that would have been a little difficult. So we were fortunate enough to have a funeral director that did that on our behalf. As soon as he identified the body, he got that squared away with the state. Now, within a couple of days, we got her death certificate, which means that we were able to file a claim with the insurance company.
And I want to put that in perspective again. When you are going through this whole process, you have to make major decisions within hours, days, and usually, from everyone's experience, funerals can happen within a week. So again, try to align yourself with people that you know are going to have your back and hold your family through this entire process. And we can't recommend our funeral director enough. We'll link his information below. He's in the state of Virginia. So the thing again that we need to make sure that you all understand is, like Darius said, we had 48 hours to move our daughter's body to a funeral home, and that happened very quickly. So that death certificate is what is going to allow you to file the death claim. Now, for those of you who don't realize what a death certificate is, it's just the same as a birth certificate, where the birth certificate legitimizes your birth, the death certificate legitimizes your death. And that is the piece of paperwork that you have to have on hand in order to submit the death claim to receive the death benefit.
Now, the next point that we want to make is actually obtaining that death benefit from the insurance company. Now, this process is fairly simple, at least it was for us, because everything was done online. We logged into our insurance policy and we went to the tab that said death claim. And once we clicked on death claim, it said that we had to submit the number or a case file for our death certificate and upload a PDF of the death certificate. Now, everyone, this may not be as simple or straightforward, but we can at least tell you from our experience and from the insurance companies that we work with, it's fairly simple to click on the tab.
Now, with this whole process, the thing to note is we did it on our behalf. Your funeral director can also do it for you. And this is another way that you are also able to pay for the funeral, is if the funeral director files everything on your behalf, then you can say a portion of the death benefit is going to go pay for the funeral expenses. This is a nugget for you to understand, because a lot of times within this industry, funeral directors, they accept certified check and personal check. No credit cards, no financing. They deal in cash. So if you don't have cash on hand, then and you don't have a death benefit, you're going to have to figure out a way to be able to pay them. So again, that's why it's so important to have your ducks in a row and to know not only do you need to have an emergency fund, because you never know what's going to happen, because that number we talked about earlier, over 7,000 deaths happen a day in the United States. Could that be a member of your family? We don't know. And do you have the financial resources in order to make sure that you can bury them?
Right. Now, there's two ways in which you can have the death benefit, like Carmen said. Now, the benefit of having the funeral director file for the death benefit is they can get paid directly from the insurance policy, and the difference gets sent over to you. That'll be good for individuals who don't necessarily have the funds available to pay for the funeral arrangements up front. That way, even if it takes a week or 2 or 3 weeks for you to get that death claim, they can already go ahead and start the funeral arrangements and have the funeral service or celebration prior to that money actually coming. So there's no waiting on the other end. Now, the second way is to have that money come directly to you. This way is that way the money comes directly to you. And if you do have the funds to move ahead with the funeral arrangements, you can go ahead and pay for it through a certified check or cash, like Carmen said, and you can be done with it. So either way, it depends on your liking and what's most convenient for you.
Absolutely. But you have options. And now you know that you have options, because we didn't know. We were deer in headlights going through this process by ourselves. And that's why, again, we just looked at ourselves and said, why don't we have a video on this topic? And we felt like today was just timely to talk about it. We know that this conversation is very different than the ones that we typically have on the Wealth Nation channel. But like we told you all before, we're getting real, we're getting personal. And this is so relevant to every single member in our Wealth Nation community. I can't stress this enough. Now, going through those two processes, right? We were talking about the death certificate and then being able to file for the death benefit. That's really all that you need in order to receive the funds for that death benefit. But what we want to make sure that you all do today is start having conversations with your family, right? You need to start having conversations about, one, if I were to pass, do I want to be cremated or do I want to be buried? And if I want to be buried, where? Do I want a celebration? Do I want a traditional funeral service? Do I want to be in a church? Do I want to have, the celebration elsewhere? Have these conversations, because you just don't know how much is weighing on your family when they're going through the process of trying to plan everything. And if you've already given them, a plan or a guide, that helps tremendously. And that also helps with the drama and the emotional baggage that can come if there's a lot of parties involved. Luckily, it was just my husband and I arranging the funeral arrangements for our youngest daughter. But the idea was, she's a baby. We didn't have to deal with managing her assets, moving money. We didn't have to deal with any of that. So as an adult, it is very imperative that you are speaking with your partner, you're speaking with other members of your family and letting them know where your assets are, where other money is, what are the things that are owed to you, because the last thing that you want is for any of your assets to be tied up in probate because you didn't organize it in a fashion for it to properly transfer to your family. So that's why, again, it's so important to have this conversation. It's a difficult one, but it's the conversation that needs to be had instead of talking about Sunday's football game.
Right. Now, this regardless, if someone in your family passes away, whether it's planned or not, it's going to be a whirlwind of emotions that you experience at that particular time. And the last thing you want to have to worry about is to have to worry about how to plan for the funeral as you're going through your grieving process, because it starts and it happens immediately, regardless of a relationship that you have with someone. When they're no longer here, no longer going to be here ever, it's a big weight on you. So please don't add to that weight when you can do something about it right now, because what's guaranteed is death. Yeah. And we shared the statistic earlier, 7,974 people pass away in the United States every single day.
And only 3,987 of those individuals have life insurance. So Wealth Nation, remember to own your own lifestyle.
Or someone else will.